Good afternoon, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today I have a very special guest and old friend with me here, Mr. Troy Johnston. Welcome, Troy.
Hey, great to see you. Thanks for having me.
Oh my God, we have so much to talk about. I don't know how much time we have. It's basically unlimited, but I feel it's we met when we were doing business together. You were running Seller Tools, and I
Yeah.
was running a chatbot business, which was doing kind of refunds for Amazon sellers, which became beyond terms of service. So yeah, but at that time the collaboration with Seller Tools was very helpful, and I got to meet you as a very helpful and very supportive CEO and co-founder of Seller Tools. But it looks like this is like generations ago, because when I look at your LinkedIn stuff and all the stuff that you've been doing in between, it's like you're like light years ahead already. So please let us know, what is Troy doing today?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm actually in a little bit of well, right now I'm still doing M&A for Carbon 6, which they were actually the ones that came in and acquired Seller Tools, and so
Yeah.
have been able to kind of take part of that massive rise with Carbon 6 and the vision of really being able to bring in a comprehensive suite of tools for Amazon sellers and e-commerce business and brand owners. But what I've been doing also with my extra time, I just recently exited a business, which was a AI-centric newsletter in Neon Pulse.
It's still on your LinkedIn profile, man, but you already sold it. Come on, you have to update your profile.
I know that's the timing of us catching up. It literally just went down. And so assets are transferring, everything's kind of moving over, and that deal was finalized, and now I find myself with a little bit more time on my hands and thinking about what else with that extra time I'm going to be focusing on. But
that's a
yeah,
tough problem.
For an entrepreneur, it's a little tough. It's a little tough.
Yeah. So what am I going to do with all my free time and all my money now? Yeah, that's yeah. So what is it? Are you going to go for a swim, or I don't know?
Yeah,
basketball.
I've tried to be a little bit lazy, and so I've tried to kind of let myself watch some television, kind of kick back, just take it easy a little bit. But the mind doesn't slow down. It doesn't let me just necessarily take that break. So I have every intention of being good about maybe lining up some trips and really taking a little bit more downtime. But there's just so much opportunity out there too. So it's hard to really put a pause on things.
And what opportunities are you seeing right now? I mean, unless it's confidential, but where do you see the opportunities right now?
Yeah, I mean, just coming out of an AI-centric business, it's hard not to see how much potential there is for,
of course, yeah, that's the
practically using AI or automations. Obviously, even marrying that with my background in more of the Amazon sphere. There's just so much, whether it's optimizing a business or automating a business. There's almost too much. I mean, I even found this honestly with us running Neon Pulse. It was a daily newsletter, so every single day we'd send an email, and you would think, oh, well, you're going to run out of news, innovations, tool, and it's even at that rate, it's still very challenging to kind of stay tapped in to the sort of the bleeding cutting edge. So with that time, it's sort of looking at a lot of those different areas, and then just an Amazon, whether it's a new brand or starting to run more Amazon DSP, so dabbling more with Amazon PPC, that there's just so many doors that are open. It's sort of a question of what to go deep on and not so wide and really commit. But I'm not forcing myself to do anything too soon.
Yeah. You should take your time, man. You should relax. But I know I mean, when I go on a holiday after 10 days, I'm done with hanging out.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my threshold. For 10 days I can just chill and just sit by the beach and do nothing. But after that, I feel like, okay, so enough of this now. So let's get back to business somehow.
Yeah, but it's ironic too, because I mean, I'm sure that time is also really valuable for for resetting, giving you new perspective, stepping away. Usually, and I find that's the case. I just have to do it. Is that you sort of can take on more of that third party, that outside perspective, because then when you're in the midst of it, you're just like so head down. You're not looking or factoring everything in, and a true break and a disconnect can really give you that or a glimpse of that, in that time.
Yeah. Troy, let's go back in time.
All right.
Let's time travel to 10-year-old Troy. Let's get to know 10-year-old Troy and what was going on in his mind, in his world. What was he dreaming of? Did he have an idea what he's going to become?
Yeah, I think at that age, I didn't have a sense of as much direction. I was definitely more playful as a kid and more adventurous. But I think not to move too far into my life, that at that time, a snapshot of that time is, I was just definitely a lot more playful, imaginative. Like, I was, experiencing all these different worlds, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all these things where, we were thinking of expanding our mind, being youthful, being open. I came from a military family, so I had somewhat of the benefit of, sort of experiencing new places. I was actually born in Japan, so it was sort of eye-opening.
You were born in Japan.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
How long did you live there?
Only until I was 6. So I do have some memories, but they're a little bit fleeting. But I remember, hot springs and my dad he climbed Mount Fiji and like different distinct sort of local memories that I'm really fond of having. But I think that sort of benefited me to have something a little bit unique, a little bit atypical.
Do you speak Japanese?
No, unfortunately, I don't. I'd love to go. I have not gone back, and I'd love to go back to Japan.
Okay, so that was just a 6-year period, and then you moved back to the US.
Yep, came back.
And what was your first aspiration as a kid? I mean, did you have any idea, like, when I grow up, I'm gonna be X?
No, it really, for me, it came much later in life. But actually at a relatively good time. I've got younger family members, nephews, that I'm sort of seeing them figure that out. They're at that formative stage of like, college is around the corner, or not college, or like what their next step is going to be and what their path in life is going to be. And for me, it came together kind of around that time. It was sort of like before I was going to go to university. I sort of knew what that path was and what I was really interested in. So I think it was sort of a sweet spot, but not, I didn't have, as imaginative as I was, I didn't have being a pilot or a surgeon or, these distinct paths that some have when they're so young. But it came at the right time.
I wanted to be a helicopter pilot. I don't know. I
Did you?
think, as a kid, I wanted to be a helicopter pilot. I thought it was really cool, but that one did not really manifest.
Yeah.
But, but you did the school thing, and then you went to university and you studied what?
So I studied advertising. I majored in advertising and I minored in psychology.
Major and minor. So you have your major and the minor. Wow. I have none of those.
Yeah.
Somehow I was in school for 13 years, and after that I felt like, boy, this is so enough of sitting in classrooms and listening to a fella in front of me. So all I wanted to do was just go and work. Even as a dishwasher, I didn't care. But all I wanted to do is just get out of this system where, I had a schedule, I had things to do and listen. But I mean, I understand that joining university You learn things. How useful was it in hindsight?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. I have a semi-nuanced perspective on it, understanding the investment that it takes to go to university and the commitment, and then
Yeah.
how you manage the debt. I think for me, it was really fruitful. I mean, it was I was working 2 jobs while I was going to school, so I was learning a lot of how to manage my time and to be as effective as possible. I'm a relatively good student, and so I graduated top of my class. I really committed to like really doing well, and so I think really kind of striving and being able to manage all of that. I think those were really invaluable skills that I took into later years in my life.
Yeah.
But it's tricky because I also saw that a lot of students were maybe not taking it as seriously, and then incurring all of that debt, and then I think it really depends on what your goals and objectives are and what you're bringing to the table. Because, like I said, I've got family members now that are, I've now been able to get that perspective in life, to where I sort of struggle to encourage it. They're excited about the idea of going to university, but it's also,
they are. Okay.
Yeah, but it's also like, okay, how much context and insight can you give to them to understand that, like, you have other options? Same with you. It sounds like where you just wanted to get out. Once you're working hard, getting new experiences, meeting new people, like you get these other invaluable, somewhat similar experiences, but you don't have to go down that same path. Because that's always implied. It's like, oh, you need to go to a college or university to get to that next step. Well, as we know, as entrepreneurs, business owners, the straightest path isn't always the right one, right? You have to sort of figure it out, make a decision day by day, and be a bit resourceful,
Yeah, correct. And then you went to university, and then, at what point did you have this idea of entrepreneurship? When did it come to you?
Yeah. And I think, as we talked about being at age 10, so like earlier in my life, far more open-minded, imaginative. Being in a military family, we had a lot more of a conservative background. So it was, security, stability, predictability, those things were really valued and cherished. And so as I was getting older and past sort of the younger stages in my life, that was being more reinforced and reiterated, and more finding it to be more ingrained in me. And so that's where, in terms of my entrepreneurial journey, it really didn't take hold until, about 9 or 10 years ago, right around 2013, 2014. Ironically enough, it was an Amazon opportunity, where I connected with a friend, a coworker at that time, far more entrepreneurial, far more willing to take chances, was very encouraging. But it was very eye-opening for me to sort of have somebody there, and then be able to sort of see this unique opportunity at that point in Amazon FBA, relatively early days. But yeah, that's really when it happened. That was like the aha of like, oh, wow, there's this whole other world of all of these sort of values that I had previously, being willing to have a more nuanced take and not, seek the stable 40 hours like that.
But you did experience that 40-hour thing, right? So after university, you did join the corporate world, and you worked as a what?
Yeah, my very first job out of school was a admissions counselor. I worked admissions at a for-profit university, which was very, very eye-opening. But it essentially was a sales role, because with it being for-profit, they really were trying to have as much in the way of student admissions and enrollments. And so I got to see that world. Started then moving more into what was befitting of my degree. I was doing marketing, for-profit schools for a time, and then before stumbling into the Amazon opportunity, I was doing marketing for a company that essentially does marketing for different hoteliers, boutique hotels, website SEO, different digital marketing needs. And so that was actually for a 40-hour a week job. It was actually really good. It was one of those things where it was like it sort of finally got into this place of like, in that model, it was a really great place to work, and I was meeting great people. But then at the same time, with seeing that door open with Amazon FBA, I didn't move on from that job until I was making more than what the work was paying me. And I essentially had that conversation with my boss of like, I either need this raise or I need to step, and I just quantified it. Let's make it very logical here. And yeah, that was like the inflection point to where a lot of things.
And he didn't give you the raise, I guess.
No, that didn't.
You were making too much on Amazon already. He couldn't cope.
Yeah.
He couldn't keep up with your Amazon profits.
It was getting to be a lot at that point to juggle everything.
Okay, yeah. So that is a similar time. I also started selling on Amazon in 2014. So it was almost the same time when we entered the Amazon universe.
Nice.
So you started with a private label brand together with your buddy, or how did it go?
Yeah, I had a few. I sourced a few sample products, and I filled up a closet or two with a bunch of things I was testing out. And then he and I, my friend, we actually ended up finding, the same type of product to source. And we ended up bringing both to market. So we effectively became competitors. Yeah. So it was, it was good because we found something that was really viable and was a good starting place to build out. The product that we had was a organic argan oil, which at that point in time too was really starting to take hold. It's still really popular today, but it was in those early days, really popular. And then it really sort of worked out to where, with us sort of competing with one another, just leveling up, just kind of constantly thinking of like, how we could outpace or, really bring something unique to the market. But then we ended up on our own, expanding out our own kind of health and beauty lines, still competing, but with him being far more entrepreneurial. As soon as he saw proof of concept, he was all in. It was like, pushing all the chips to the table, where I was like, okay, I'm hitting these, milestones. I've got to decide if I want to, start loading in my savings and really starting to grow this out. But yeah, I mean, at that point I was sort of committed, and kept it going, kept it growing, and built it out.
Did you sell that business?
I did. Yeah.
Wow. When?
That would have been in 2017. So
2017. Okay. So you were 2 years earlier than 2 years ahead of me already.
Oh, that's when you sold your business?
Yeah. I sold mine in 2019. Yeah.
Got it. Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And then 2000. So you must have somehow migrated into the SaaS business from there, right? So Seller Tools was co-founded by you. So there must have been some kind of development ahead of that, right?
Yeah. I was, after exiting that business, I was doing some consulting for about 7 months. Just had been really fortunate. My network, I was, so close with a lot of these really successful brand owners, but they just needed help with kind of optimizing things, realizing some automations in their business. And one in particular, I was helping them actually, realize their exit. But then it was sort of organic. I ran into Brendan Morris, who's was to become my partner, business partner at Seller Tools, and was sort of learning that he was building out on his own, kind of his own suite of tools, just for his own brand. Really successful seller in his own right. So he's sort of always thinking about different optimizations in his business, and he was building out, like I said, tools essentially for himself. And he had the idea, well, let me make these more broadly available and actually build out a true SaaS and bring it to market. But then he sort of needed, he likes to stay sort of in the background, not as much in the forefront, and then needed support really on the operational marketing side of things to really effectively take things to market and scale from there. So yeah, he and I connected at an event. Our third partner, so there's 3 partners in that business. Todd A was also there, so we had a chance to kind of all connect. And by virtue of our networks, we knew people that, you know, we all sort of knew each other. So we were able to kind of get up to speed pretty fast on, like, you know, who we are and build that trust, and then move pretty quickly to some of the next steps to, you know, make that, you know, make the product available. And yeah, the rest is history. We sort of built it out from there. And yeah, that was a really interesting experience. Moving from brand owner, because obviously that's what we wanted to leverage, right? Is that, you know, we wanted to create tools that we wanted ourselves. What were we seeing that was missing? What gives us an advantage? And then just, you know, bolt it on to what was being out with Seller Tools.
And you became the face of the brand Seller Tools.
Yes, yeah, I was a lot
when
more.
I think of Seller Tools, I see your face. I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't ever met your other buddies, but
Yeah.
yeah, I guess you did a good job being the face of the brand and speaking to customers. And like, I happened to be one of them, and I had a very good experience with Seller Tools.
Yeah.
And moving forward, Seller Tools was taken over by Carbon 6. Is that right?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, they acquired us. Now it's almost been a little over a year. But yeah, it's been great to be, you know, kind of folded into what they're building out. It's a really bold vision. I mean, having built, you know, a single SaaS, it's a pretty heavy lift. You know, I think what I've definitely learned over, I mean, a handful, 4 or 5 years, is that, you know, SaaS can be both really simple in terms of building out sort of digital solutions, but then it also can be, you think, oh, you just need to do this, and then, you know, it just all of a sudden it's presented in a different way, or you can pull different data sources. But like, even for Seller Tools in particular, we were aggregating so much data and having to manage so much data that even though that provided a lot of value for our users, it just adds a lot more complexity. And so I think about that for Seller Tools, and also, like I said, in this sense with Carbon 6 of, you know, sellers have very unique needs, and rightfully should be very, very picky. So it creates a really interesting and sometimes fun challenge of like, okay, how do we dev something that's really compelling, plays nicely, especially too in this landscape where there's, you know, there is more and more tools coming to the market, and, you know, there is a race to really, you know, really create something exceptional.
Yeah, definitely. So, but the concept, the SaaS itself of Seller Tools still exists as it was, only it's now integrated into the Carbon 6 kind of portfolio. But I can still go and use Seller Tools just the way I'm you know, it used to be previously, right? It's just part of Carbon 6 now.
That's right. Yep. Yeah. Still have the platform, have the Chrome extension. Yeah, you could still tap into everything, you know, standalone if you'd like.
Yeah. Wow. And with this takeover, did this have an effect on your position? I mean, were you still the CEO or co-founder of Seller Tools, or did you kind of step out of it and let Carbon 6 take over the whole management of Seller Tools?
Yeah, I transitioned sort of out of my role as it was rolled into Carbon 6, and then very quickly, especially with how quick we were moving and continue to move kind of at Carbon 6, my role really required a lot of focus and attention, because the speed of M&A, we were acquiring different tools at a breakneck speed. It was, I think, almost like a tool a month where we were going through the M&A process. So we had to take it all the way through the M&A pipeline. So yeah, it would have been a lot to juggle everything if I was still, you know, as deeply ingrained with Seller Tools. But yeah, that's where my focus went really quickly, because it was kind of like, okay, we've got a lot of initiatives. M&A was a huge focus, and been a part of a lot of, you know, if you look at the Carbon 6 site now, almost all of those tools, really took them through, and was heavily involved in getting them in-house and fully integrated.
Yeah, I can imagine how much work that one is. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, it must be really exciting, and it can be overwhelming as well, I guess, to get all this stuff like into under one roof and to make it work and to cater to all these different buckets of customers of all these different tools. It must be a lot. But what I found most exciting and amazing is that you have this thing, you created a platform called Neon Pulse, which is basically a newsletter for AI, and you freaking sold it already.
I did, yes.
And I mean, I subscribed to this thing like an hour ago, and I saw it on your LinkedIn profile. I went there to check it out, and all it is one website with one opt-in form, like subscribe to our AI newsletter. That's it. That's all. There's no other service. There's no click here. There's no testimonials. There's no service. Nothing. It's just subscribe here. And this is something which you can sell, really. I mean,
Mhm.
I couldn't believe it. So please tell me, how did you do this?
Yeah, yeah. It was, I mean, and the same with the prior president, very eye-opening to get into the newsletter world, but also the content world. I'd never run a business that was as content centric. Essentially, the words are the product. I mean, that's how you are able to monetize things. But it's a whole. I mean, especially with the AI niche and focus, where it's so challenging to stay tapped in at the speed at which things are happening. It was really intuitive to sort of spin up a newsletter and sort of scratch our own itch. Where I have a partner in that business, or did have a partner in that business, and we were sort of spending time personally of like, hey, we're consuming this content, we're aggregating information. Well, why don't we, synthesize it, put it together, and then send it out as a product? And so we did. We started it, February of this year, and kept it really simple. We focused on, paid ads was a big part of our customer acquisition, our subscriber acquisition, with organic.
Oh,
being
you
a little
did
bit
advertise.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And so yeah, we would use that to scale pretty quickly. We ended up, I think, around 23,000 subscribers. I mean, obviously continuing to grow. But yeah, it's a whole interesting world. We were starting to bolt on even more monetization, a lot more in the way of partnerships. But yeah, I mean, it's sort of the attention economy, where once you garner and build a really strong audience and a compelling subscriber base, it opens up the potential to generate revenue. The trick for us was really evaluating how noisy the space was getting. It was really unique in the sense that there was so many AI newsletters coming online, and we were finding that what's a good way to sort of put this? Some of the most popular ones were not maybe as at the quality level that we we would consume or be interested in. And so we were sort of finding that what was being rewarded wasn't the product that we were interested in. So, and that's where we were at. It was sort of deciding, okay, we can double down and really sort of focus on what the market, what the audience dictates, or we can take this asset, put it in the hands of somebody who has some synergies, has different capabilities, maybe has a different vision, and that's really where we sort of sat down and said, okay, well, we're going to decide on the latter. Hand this project and asset off. That's what we did. But it was starting to, with a lot of our paid ad efforts, as we talk about optimization, using AI, using automation, we were getting a good amount of attention for different tool providers, services that wanted to get in front of our audience. So yeah, it's a good business. I would definitely say if somebody hasn't explored that world, there's a few Amazon, a few e-com centric newsletters, but I would say that relative to what was in the AI space, that got really noisy and really saturated. But it's that like I said, audience economy, where if you can cultivate attention and hopefully put out a good product, there's definitely a business to be had there.
And what platform did you use to advertise? Was it Google or what?
We essentially tried everything. We did TikTok, we did Twitter, we did Facebook. Yeah, we did Twitter. Facebook tended to be the one channel that performed the best.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting, huh?
Did quite well. Yeah, and we
I never saw your ads, man. Somehow you didn't target Malaysia. What? Come on.
We were actually pretty secretive. Credit to my partner who was running a lot of that. He would use a different Facebook page. We knew, because of how noisy the space was, we had a lot of people like watching our ads. So he would spin up a different page to run our ads, and then that way there wasn't a clear link of somebody looking at our ad library or being able to detect what we were doing.
You wanted to hide your stuff, huh?
Yeah, it was good. Again, credit to him. A huge credit to him, because he did a great job. And with newsletters, you really want to be sub $2 for sure, because some of the other monetization that you can do, whether it's on the back end or ads, you can typically offset it. You can kind of create a little bit of a flywheel to where really we were acquiring subscribers for next to nothing. It just required the capital. Yeah, it just required adding the money on the front end and then having a 30, 45 day delay on the back end to where some of the referrals, some of the ads would come through. So it's a really interesting business for sure. So it's
I'm not. It's really something new to me. Yeah, that you can grow a business just from a newsletter alone, having like a one-page website. Say,
keep it simple.
It's amazing to see how simple stuff actually can work like this. Yeah, and then not only did you grow your subscriber base, and I guess you got people sponsoring you for content and stuff. I guess that would be the main stream of income, right? People like sponsors and people who want to like promote their content inside your newsletter. And these guys, of course, they're coming up every day. There's a new AI service that wants to get attention. So there should be a lot of that. And then even the next step of selling the business, that's to me even more amazing how. But then, again, it makes sense. I mean, there must be aggregators and big companies in this space who wouldn't mind to have another 25,000 subscribers in the email list.
Yeah, we had a lot of good conversations. I mean, we had a few interested buyers that had sort of different objectives. Some that were rolling up a portfolio, some that were moving to the public markets, others where that was the play was just acquiring sort of a vertically integrated, where they were buying like sponsorship sites, they were buying other newsletters, to where there's just so much in the way of synergies that it makes a ton of sense. So.
Wow, I learned a lot today, Troy, and I'm sure there's much more to learn. So please give it to us. What would be your best tip if you have any piece of advice? Let's say there's a 90-year-old guy watching this video and he wants to become an entrepreneur. He wants to start his own business. He wants to start an online business. What would be your advice for him?
I'd probably say two things, because this is what I've learned. The first one would be just simple sort of math. I've been very fortunate. I've known folks that have sold businesses for $500 million and done really well. And the truth is they quite literally have more failures than successes. It's just the math of it. Like, they have businesses that were squandered, that were underwhelming, that lost them money, but they come back time and time again. So the people that you see that just are exceptional examples, the truth is when you really dig into it, the failures stack up. They've just taken enough swings and had enough attempts to where
persistence.
Those big wins. Wins come. Yeah, and
I completely
the
agree.
only
The overnight success has been 10 years in the making, right?
yeah, exactly. And you will get better. I mean, that's for me is like having been in kind of different worlds and maybe intentionally or subconsciously just challenging myself with you know this whole newsletter thing where it is a whole different world. Like selling a physical product and doing Amazon where I can just obsess about a channel and understand it intimately. A newsletter is like it's just different. It's a whole different bowl of
Yeah,
wax.
of course. Yeah.
And I think that's the other thing too is that you know being willing and valuing resourcefulness. That's the thing is that we put people on pedestals because they've reached different milestones or made X amount of dollars. But if you again either study them or come to know them, those that are honest will say that they've just they make the right or the best decisions they can every single day. There's not this path or this predictability that they have with this certainty as to how to achieve this level of success. It's just they're willing and hopefully, and this is what I try to do, they're try to have fun with that process. Because if you enjoy the process, um, you remove a lot of that pressure, that anxiety, that stress, or the lack of willingness to try things that comes with, oh, it's got to be this outcome. It's got to be, at this level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's all about the system that we follow every day, and not just about the goal. It's about having this a working system in place, and that takes a long time to develop.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good advice, man. So we have to keep going, and we have to make the best possible decisions every day. And there's no magic sauce. There's no magic trick. It's just about keep doing the stuff. And what did you see as the biggest challenges in your entrepreneurial life?
I think moving more distinctly into like embracing being an entrepreneur, I think was once you sort of push that rock over the hill and it starts rolling down, that's really when you allow it to be your identity. And I think that was the biggest thing for me. Like I said, being far more, which my family still is being far more secure and like stable, and maybe not playing in the realm of any sort of risk. I think that's the biggest shift, because once you move into that phase, you sort of let your mind explore what can be, like what you can do, who you can work with, what you start to value. And then, like I said, that reality of like, yeah, you're going to have, you're going to have failures. It's going to come with the territory. But you're willing to embrace it at the same time too. I think that's the biggest shift, and it's something you have to work on. Sometimes you sort of can start to. It can be for me where it's like you start to identify more with older ways, or again, who you hang out with, or the sort of inputs that you have that you've got to sort of stay starkly into. Okay, I'm going to be willing to be resourceful. I'm going to do something I've never done before. I'm going to take it a step at a time, and have a willingness to do that.
Oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Having the willingness to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Oh, I'm close to having goosebumps right now, Troy.
Love it, man. I love it.
It's so good to speak to you and to have this, yeah, because we have quite a few things in common. I haven't been really in the SaaS world, but the Amazon world and the agency marketing stuff, I think we have in common, and I think there's a lot of common experience we share, and yeah, and it's amazing to listen to your story, and all the great things you have achieved. And of course, as you mentioned, there is always failure, but as one of my CFOs says, there is no failure. We either learn or we succeed. And I think that's a very helpful mindset to have, because there will be a lot of learnings, like a lot, and we cannot take them too personally. We have to kind of just, accept the lesson, and look at it as something beneficial, as something of value and something that we can use moving forward. And yeah, it's a journey. It's a journey where every day we have to make the best possible decisions.
Yep, absolutely. Couldn't have said it better.
Cool, man. Yeah. So what's next, man? So you're on a sabbatical now. You're chilling. You're like figuring out what to do with all your free time. But then you're gonna bump into some other guy at the beach, and then he's gonna say, "Hey, Troy, let's do this," and boom, there will be Troy's next business venture.
I know it's trouble. There's trouble. As you say that, it just might happen. It just might happen. We'll see. I'll let life take me a little bit, whatever direction it might. But definitely open to it, and want to embrace it with some excitement, right? Like there's a lot of opportunities.
Let's meet in 1 year from now.
Hey,
I would love to talk to you, and I mean today is June 14th. Yeah, so I will make a note in my calendar for June 14, 2024. And I want to catch up on Troy and see what he's doing at that time.
That sounds good. Let's do it.
I'm sure it's going to be interesting to look back at this last year. All right, man. So thank you so much for joining me here. It was a pleasure and with a lot of insights. So, man, thank you again. And let's stay in touch. And we talk again in 1 year from now.
Hey, sounds good. Yeah.
Latest.
Sounds like there you go. Yeah. Sooner, but then also then.
Sooner, but then also then. All right.
Yes.
Okay, man. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.
Thank you.